In this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to create a JFrame within Netbeans. What a JFrame basically is it's sort of like the window you're seeing right here. So it's a window, it's going to have the ability to minimize and close, and it's going to have buttons and text boxes and all kinds of things on it. So let me just show you how this is going to work. So let's go create a new project. It's going to be a Java application. I'm going to call it the JFrame example. Okay. And what you want to do is, right now, like I was messing with this earlier, but normally this is checked on. It says create main class. Do not do that. Take that thing off. You want to make sure there's nothing here. This is grayed out. That's what you want. Okay. Let's click finish. And this is going to be our project, JFrame example. Now inside the source package, there's nothing here. It just says default package. What we're going to do is manually add a package in. So I'm going to right click this thing and you go to new, and then Java package. Now, typically the package names, what you would do is you would sort of, like if you owned, say, a website, what you do is you reverse the domain. For example, if you own Facebook, you'd put com.facebook and then dot the program name. So for me, my last name is Rosan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to assume that I own rosan.com, even though I don't. I'm going to write com.rosan.jframe example. So usually this is the style that you'd like to use. Okay, this would be your last name, and this would be the program name. But if you work for a business, for example, you might have com dot whatever your business name is here. So this is just a convention I use. Everybody's different, but that's what I typically like to use if I have to create a package name. Okay, so we're going to click finish. So we got our package. Right now it's still gray. There's nothing in it. So I'm going to do one more time is right click my new package and go to new, and I'm going to go to new JFrame form. And I can call this whatever I want. I'm just going to leave it as new JFrame for now. It should be okay. And watch what it is. It's going to create basically this drag and drop type system, which is pretty cool. So here's what my window is going to look like. So let's go ahead, and my idea here is I'm going to have, say, two boxes with numbers. I'm going to type in two numbers into them, click a submit button, and it will add them together and print the output. So let's do this. So what I would need is I need some text fields and some labels. So let's go with the label first. Drag the label out, and you can put it wherever you want. I'll put it right there. I'm just going to double click it. I'm going to say value 1, hit enter. And over here on the right side, this is where all the properties are of this label. So the text property, that's the bold one, is value 1. So I could go and change it if I want. There's a bunch of other things like its position, whether it's enabled or not, what font it uses. There's all kinds of things you can change with this label here. And it's also its variable name you could also change too, and that's under code. So that thing has a name of JLabel1. That might be important. Sometimes you need to change a label, like the text of a label using code. You need to know the variable name. So right now that thing's called JLabel1. Just to show you how to change it, I'm going to call this JLabel value 1. It's a good idea to use custom variable names instead of default ones anyways. And when I change that, watch what it does in my code. So this is the code of this program. It's actually very, very large. So right here, this gray thing, it says generated code. If you click the plus sign, you'll see all the code that it actually made. This is all of my code of my program. It did all that, which is pretty cool. And you can see right here, it created a JLabel value 1. It set the text to value 1. Its text name right here is called JLabel value 1. That's what I named it, right? So that's where all the variables are created. Now, when you're looking at the code here, it's important in Netbeans, don't touch any of this gray stuff. It actually tells you do not modify. Even this gray stuff in here, don't modify any of this stuff. When you change it with the interface over here, click design, when you change it this way, it will change the gray code for you, so you don't have to worry about it, which is kind of nice. Okay, so let's keep going. Next thing I'm going to do is drag out a text field. Text field is like a single line text box. And I want this thing right now. So by default, it's under properties, the code. Let's call this thing JTextField value 1. So that's a new name. And instead of the text being JField1, I'm actually going to leave it to blank. So I'm just going to blank it out. Now, sometimes that happens. You may have to resize the box. Let's do that. So its text is blank, but it has a name of JTextFieldValue1. That will become important later on in our program. Let's create another label. And we'll sort of line everything up. Let's call this value2. And this one, I'm just going to leave the name. It's fine. I don't really have to. I mean, J labels, I'm not going to worry about because I'm not changing anything on them. So it's not the end of the world if I don't have a custom name. But text boxes, I definitely would. Oops, not text area. Text area is actually like a paragraph response type box. We don't want that. Text field is a single line. That's what we need. Okay. So this would be the second one. So its variable name, which is under code. I'm going to call this thing JTextFieldValue2. Make sure you're consistent with these. And the same thing, its text, I'm going to put it to blank. And then stretch the box out, make sure it lines up with the other one. Like that. And then we're going to put in a button. This button will say like submit or something like that. Submit will work good, I think. Okay, the text property, I don't want it to say JButton1, I want it to say submit. The code, right now it's called JButton1. That's fine, I can leave it as that. But if I have multiple buttons with specific functions, I might want to rename this thing. And the last thing I'm going to do is just put a text field for my output here. Oops, one sec here, sorry. I'm going to put a label. And we'll say, the output, I'll say solution. These aren't lining up all that nice, if I'm being honest. Sometimes you got to play with these things to make them look good. Maybe this box here, I can drag it over a bit more. Oops, I do not want to do that. Yeah, sometimes this is the issue with Java. You want to try and make it look good. It can be a pain sometimes, if I'm being honest. Anyways, you get the picture. You can organize this how you want. So it'll be value1, value2, I hit submit, and then my solution will be below. Okay, and I'm going to call this thing JTextField answer. And again, I'm going to blank this out. So under the text field, just blank it out. And we'll just stretch it to line up. Okay. That does not look good. I'm just going to do that. Okay. So the idea here is I'm going to push a number into here, a number to here, hit submit, and the answer should be here. Should add them together. So before you do anything, I want to run it just so you see what this thing actually looks like right now. Okay, so it's asking, because I manually created that file, it's saying which one has the main. That's the one, so we're going to click OK. And we should see what our frame looks like. And that's it right there. So it's a little self-contained box. I can type numbers in here, which is great. Submit, nothing happens though. And this is the appearance of it right now. Okay, so let's do something with this button now. Let's grab these two numbers out of here, add them together, and print them into this box. So the way we do this, I'm going to click the submit button. I'm going to go to events. And there's a bunch of different events that can occur on this button. And the event that we're looking for is called action performed. Action performed basically means that it was clicked. So what we can do is just click right in here, and it actually suggests a name for us. We're going to click this thing. And what it'll do is it's going to make this code right here. See my cursor's flashing? It says private void JButton1 action performed. This is the code that runs when the button is clicked. So just for now, I'm going to just print the word hi. And I'll just show you that that is the code that runs when I click my button. So right now I'm not doing anything with the text boxes, but if I click the button, it should say hi. Yep, see, it's working. So this is definitely triggering this method every time I click the button, which is good. Okay, so let's do something real with our code now. So let's grab, we're going to create int num1 and num2. Now I need to grab the values out of box 1 and box 2. The variable names are important. This is called jTextField value 1. This is called jTextField value 2. The text that's inside them is actually a string. So we're going to have to actually convert those. So here's what I usually do. And we can shorten this into, a single line of code later on, but at this point, just to keep it simple, what I'm going to do is do it like this. So I'm going to say num1 str equals jTextField value 1 dot. Now if you give it a second, we'd have code completion. We could see what kind of functions are built into it, right? And then what we want is called getText. So getText, what it does, it returns the text contained within this text component. Now if you look, getText, it returns a string. If you look at the right side, that's what it's sending me back as a string. That's why I know this will work. I know that if I set num1 str to a string, it can grab it like that. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the second one. jTextField value 2 dot getText. Same idea. So now I've got both of those. I've got the text that's within the box. Okay, now I've got to convert it next. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say num1 equals integer dot parseInt of num1 str. So that will take this num1 string and convert it. Num2 will be integer dot parseInt num2 str. Like that. So now those numbers are actually converted. Now let's add them together. Int answer equals num1 plus num2. So that I've got them added together, and I'll print the result into the output box. Okay. Now, I just want to double check the name of that text box at the bottom. So this thing's called jTextField answer. You know what? That might not be a good name. Let's call it jTextField output instead. Output. Let's call it jTextField output. So that's the variable name I'm going to use. So if I'm going to use this, all I have to do is this: jTextField output dot, and again, just take a look, see what you got here, right? What are the common methods built in? But if there's something called getText, there's always something called setText. So let's take a look and make sure there is a setText. And there is. Look, setText, and you put in a string. So let's go like this. We're going to put the text and say, we could just do it right now, just put the word answer in it. Now, it might not like that. Yeah, it doesn't like the fact that I'm directly putting an int inside of a thing that requires a string. So what I can do is something like this. There's a couple ways. This is the cheap and easy way. If you attach in an empty sentence to that number, that will convert it to a string. There's other ways of doing it as well, but just for now, let's just make sure this actually works. I think that should make my error go away. Yeah, there's no error anymore. Okay. Let's run it, make sure it works, and I'll go through this one more time. Okay, so let's go 5 plus 6. It should say 11. Yep, it actually worked out good. Okay, so let me explain what I'm again happening here. So the first thing I did was I grabbed the text from the two text boxes with this line right here. So this is grab text from the boxes. Now, because the text boxes contain strings and I want to do math with them, I have to convert them. Convert text into integers. Then we add them together, and then we display them into our output box. Now again, when I had this issue here and I had just the word answer, it didn't like that, because what I'm doing is I'm actually putting a pure int. This is an int, and I'm trying to set that as the text. And Java doesn't really understand that, because setText requires that I put a string inside of this, right? So, like I said, the easiest way that I know how to do it is just to attach in double quotes. But this is probably not the best way. I think what you can do, I think there's integer.toString will work too. this would be a more appropriate way of doing this. So what this would do is there's a function built into the integer class, and what it'll do is it'll convert to a string any int that's inside the bracket here. And the int that I'm going to use is this answer variable. So this converts it to a string, and then the string gets set as the text. Let's make sure this works again. Okay, do 2 and 3 is 5. Yep. And if I change the numbers, it'll replace it with the new value there. Yeah, so again, this is just a little tiny demo of how you can use the design menu here, and you can drag and drop stuff. You can change some of the properties in here. And believe me, there's so much stuff you can learn about in here and use. There's all kinds of things. There's password fields, there's radio buttons and checkboxes, and all kinds of things you could learn about. And we could talk about this stuff forever, and you would never learn everything. So it's one of these things that, we should just experiment with stuff. Like if you want to use a checkbox, try dragging it out, see what happens, right? Now the code on my button here, this is the code on the button. Again, you grab the text from the boxes, convert them, add them together, and display them into the output box displayed below. So again, this is just a little introduction to JFrames. Just a little thing just to show you how these things work within Java and Netbeans.